I am your host, Danielle Mims. Welcome to Think Like a Kid, the podcast that helps parents and teachers stop guessing and start teaching the way kids actually learn. After working with hundreds of kids, I can promise you this: one-size-fits-all learning doesn't work. It's time to stop making kids fit the system and start shaping learning around the child. Each week, you'll get quick wins, creative ideas, and brain-based strategies to make learning hands-on and fun again. So whether you're in the classroom, the car, or halfway through your coffee, I am so glad you're here. Let's think like a kid. Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of Think Like a Kid podcast. Again, I am so happy that you're here. I'm really excited to share this episode with you. I wanted to put it right away at the top because this is a concept I believe every child has the right to know and that every parent and educator should teach, and it's really easy to teach. So I am trying to get as many adults to teach this to kids so that they feel confident when their kid has big feelings. So even though I can't see you, raise your hand if you have experienced a child having a very, what you might say, dramatic, big feelings, super emotionally intense. Yeah, we're all raising our hand around the world over here. I experience it with my own 3 children. I've experienced it with students and kids. This is very developmentally normal, right? But it's also overstimulating for us. It's also very hard to watch our kids go through something like that. But I want to let you know, first and foremost, that it is normal. However, I think that it's very crucial, especially for those kiddos who, have a brain that works faster too, high IQ, is to explain the concept of what's going on in their brain during these moments so that they're able to put language to it and a picture to it so that they can start focusing on how to calm down those emotions appropriately. I will put a note in here that I'm not talking about saying this analogy and this concept with your child after you turn off the TV and they're having big feelings, or if you gave them a blue cup instead of a green cup and they're having big feelings. This is not the time. This kind of concept should only be given when a child is ready to listen, when they're ready to receive new information. So a playful setting when they're in their best mood is when you're actually going to get the most bang for your buck. So we are going to talk about the amygdala. And when you talk to your child, you can say that big word and you can say, when we have big feelings, there is a really tiny part in your brain. It's kind of shaped like an almond, and it is called the amygdala. What we're going to call it is we're going to call it a watchdog. And this watchdog in your brain, it only has one job. Its job is to keep you safe, which is really, really cool. But sometimes it gets a little confused, right? Sometimes when we're not sure about something, or if something doesn't feel right, or if something's a little bit off, the watchdog starts barking, like really, really loud, especially if they don't know what's going on. So after you're kind of explaining that to them, you can also draw a picture of a watchdog. That's what I do. And I even explain to them that when a doorbell rings, what does a dog do? They typically, my dogs, they go ballistic. They don't know who's at the door. They don't know if there's a friend coming to play with them or a mailman or a stranger. They just know that they have to bark and protect the house and protect their humans. And say they open the door and it is someone from their family, and then they calm down and settle down. But they were so unsure of what was happening. So they bark and they bark louder and they keep barking and they don't stop because they don't know what's happening. That's very similar to what's going on in a child's brain. Okay. When the amygdala is barking, the prefrontal cortex of your child's brain, that's offline, right? So that like logic, that reasoning, that's why when we say calm down or oh my gosh, why, when we get frustrated, nothing's going to land, okay? Because it's offline. There's just no hearing the logic of an adult telling you to calm down. Your child probably already feels very alienated. And so this type of language, now what I say to my own children when they're having these big feelings, I say very calmly, wow, sounds like the watchdog's barking really loud. That must be really hard, right? So you're giving them language to relate to, right? You're giving them a picture of what they can see.
and they can just feel more connected to themselves. So when we use those words, calm down, or why would you do that? That part of the brain's just not open for business. So there's just no point of saying it. So kids who are emotionally intense or they seem to others like they're overreacting, they often they're blessed with a stronger watchdog. And I have a child who has a stronger watchdog. That's because they notice everything, those little details, the tone. They might be sensitive to the tone, the facial expression, transitions, fairness, noises, light. That's not a child being dramatic, even though most adults will say that. It's a child being very deeply aware. So, how loud would it be for a child experiencing one of those things that doesn't feel right in their body? And they're just having this watchdog, their amygdala, go off like, oh my gosh, we're not safe, we're not safe, we're not safe. But their intellectual brain might be years and years ahead of their emotional regulation brain. So, it doesn't really match up. It's like having a race car engine, but having bicycle brakes to stop it, right? It's just fast, brilliant, but very hard to slow down once those emotions kick in. So, I mean, this is another example. I have my own child who's like this too. That's why a child might be able to explain emotional regulation really well, might be able to tell you what calm down tools and strategies, excuse me, that they'll use, but then they melt and fall apart during one. Okay, that's just how their brain works. And I want to give you something that you can actually do for your child to help, because this is the part that most people will skip. But, I would say it's probably the most important. So when your child's watchdog is barking, because it will bark and it will bark loud, your goal, hear me very clear, your goal is not to fix the behavior. The only goal, and I have to remind myself of this, and my husband, and my best friends who I love deeply, your goal is not to fix the behavior. Your goal is to make their brain feel safe again. Great. How do we even do that? Okay, there's little steps that you can take. Again, every single child in the world is completely different, so you don't know what's going to land. So take one of these, try it. If it doesn't work, try something else. So predictability is a huge one. And you might have heard teachers say this before, but like first then statements, right? Just very simple. First, we'll do blank, then we'll do blank. First, we're going to brush your teeth, and then we're going to read a book. Predictability, very simple, not 7 steps, just first, then. Connection, I struggle with this one, but you know what? It is something I am working on every single day. Calm, tone, gentle body language, and eye level. I challenge you to try this. I challenge myself every single week. I say my prayers for my kids, and then I say my prayers for my patients. And this is one that is a game changer. I've seen it in the classroom. I've seen it with my own kids, is not reacting, taking a deep breath and co-regulating yourself, getting to eye level, right? And just connecting with a child, because their brain has been hijacked by this amygdala, right? Movement or sensory grounding has been a game changer as well. So offering pressure if they like to be touched. I have a kid who loves pressure and I have a kid who hates pressure. Or a drink, something to hold, something to chew, that kind of sensory might help. One thing that really, really helps one of my kids is honestly just humor, play. If you can kind of like catch them off guard and, do something silly and acting it out. And then once they are calm, then you can talk about what happened if they're willing. But the learning is not going to stick in the moment. I can promise you that. So, your takeaways for today is to explain this concept to your child of the watchdog. You can draw the watchdog together. You can have your child name the watchdog, make it super silly. And the second thing you're going to do is explain the job of the amygdala, aka the watchdog, and saying words that are very simple, like it's here to protect you, but sometimes it barks when you don't even need protecting. So you have to figure that out. And then noticing it in real time. So when your child starts to get upset, you could just calmly say, like, I wonder if your watchdog's barking. What do you think? Just kind of making that connection with them. So This is an extremely tiny metaphor, but it's turning something that is so scary to your child to something that they can understand and potentially even laugh about. So, you doing this, yeah, you're building this connection with your child, but you're also building their self awareness and your co regulation with them. So, before you know it, you're going to hear your child saying, like, my watchdog is barking again. And you're going to have that moment where you're like, oh, okay, I guess that conversation was working. And that's what it's all about. So, this is a simple way for you to think like a kid and connect with your child. I will see you for episode 3.
Thank you for listening to Think Like a Kid. If this episode gave you an idea, a reframe, or a little win, the best way to say thank you is to share it with a friend or leave a quick review. It helps more parents and teachers find these conversations, and honestly, it means the world to me. Until next time, friend, keep meeting kids where they're at and keep thinking like a kid.